Day 10 of training camp for the New Orleans Saints is in the books, and this time around, they decided to go with a scrimmage. What happened between the offense and the defense? Tyler Shough, Spencer Rattler. We'll get to all that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Vogel, and as always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, heard offshore, Scott Vicknair handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Kellen Moore decided to spice things up today, go with a little bit of a scrimmage. Spencer Rattler was with the ones. Tyler Shough was with the twos. Then they mix it up a little bit. Let Shough get his moment with the ones. And a lot to, I'd say, digest and get through for us Saints fans. So let's start off with how things played out in the beginning. You had Rattler go 5 of 8 on his first drive, and it led to a field goal. And then Shough came out 8 of 8 with the second team offense, had a touchdown drive, had a really nice third down pass to Kevin Austin Jr., and then the touchdown was on an RPO to Michael Jacobson. And, yeah, so first couple of things started off pretty well, and then it slowed down as the day progressed, right? Spencer Rattler's next drive stalled. Shough went 3 and out. Grupe got to show off the legs, though, on one of those with a 58-yard field goal, and I'll talk about him in just a little bit. Later on in practice, as they went on, they had 126 plays, by the way, so really they pedal to the metal today with what Kellen Moore had set for this team. Tyler Shough has an interception where he's late on a throw, and Nephi Sewell jumps it. And truthfully, there's two problems here. The first problem is the play before he almost got intercepted. The second problem is on the throw where Shough got intercepted, you had Shaheed wide open, and he was just late on the ball. So Shough has the pick. Chance now for Spencer Rattler to, end his day on a positive note. He actually ends up getting picked on his next drive by Kool-Aid Mckinstry, who I'll talk about in just a little bit because, man, we got to start giving this guy a ton of credit for what he's doing this training camp. So overall, started off hot for both quarterbacks. I'd say it ended the day on a less than ideal note. But if you had to go through it, I think it becomes more and more apparent that Tyler Shough is settling in nicely. So I'll get to something Ross Jackson put up. Obviously, everyone knows Ross and what he does with Locked On Saints. He does great work. He says, among the Saints quarterbacks, I'd say Tyler Shough had the strongest day before going back to the notes. He threw a pick, but should have had 2 touchdowns in the day and looked to take more shots and be more aggressive. And Jeff Duncan, who, I know the other day was talking about Shough's struggles in practice, said a roller coaster ride for the Saints young quarterbacks today. A lot of take what they give you, which is expected at this point. Tyler Shough was more aggressive today. Looks like he's gaining confidence by the day. He'll be kicking himself about the red zone interception, though. So, again, was it the ring endorsement day? The type of day where you feel like, man, this offense has taken that next step. The quarterbacks have taken that leap. No. Do you feel, though, that Shough is getting better by the day? It does seem that way. And I'd say that for Tyler Shough, that makes sense. Like you should get more and more comfortable with every rep. And with preseason coming up, we are a week away from the Saints preseason opener against the Los Angeles Chargers. I think this is a really good job today when, running through 126 plays to expedite that process, especially for Shough and Rattler, because it seems like they got the bulk of the work today, which I've been asking for. I've been saying, no disrespect to Jay Kaner, but I think that this 3-man quarterback rotation is tough to keep alive. Like, how can you split the reps amongst the 3 of them and feel like anyone's making substantial progress? So, thoughts on Tyler Shough real quick. I am definitely encouraged that he's being a little bit more decisive, letting it rip more, not so much being, all right, live to see another down. You can do that in the regular season. I think there's times in training camp where you got to be a little bit willing to pull the trigger and see what you get away with. And it feels that way. So, quarterback competition-wise, let's say Shough had the better day. I still think Rattler is QB1 right now at the moment for week 1. And I think the preseason games, I sound like a broken record, so I apologize, guys, for this. The preseason games are what's going to decide what happens here. But at least for today's practice, it seems like Shough was the winner. Now, it's not just all about the quarterbacks. There's other stuff to get through. So let's go through the list of guys that I thought from what was going on, trends up, trends down. Let's start with trending up. Blake Grupe. Blake Grupe's technically in a position battle. There's a battle for that kicker role on the Saints. And yet it doesn't feel like one because Blake Grupe's been money this summer. And Frankly, Blake Grupe, I kind of feel bad for him in the sense that he was excellent for the Saints last season. And no one gave a shit because the Saints flat out sucked. The man was 27 of 31 last year. If you make 87% of your field goal attempts, that's a damn good season. But we just didn't talk about it because the Saints were terrible. And no one wanted to see them kicking field goals anymore. We wanted to see them get in the end zone, which obviously they struggled to do at times. So Blake Grupe, his kicking battle, I would say that one is all locked up. I feel very good about that. And I think that's good for the Saints to know you have your franchise kicker, in the building. So shout out to Blake Grupe making a 58-yarder today and pretty much being just unstoppable in training camp. Chase Young. I keep saying it. Chase Young, it feels like this is the year if it's ever going to happen for him. The Saints paid him. He feels healthy. He a little bit lighter coming into training camp, which he thinks is going to allow him to fly off the edge. Built some momentum at the end of last season. Like, there are so many things that point in the direction of Chase Young having a really good season. And then on top of it, he's been lights out at camp. So for me, when I see this and you hear what he has to say about this new system and how he feels, how can you not be excited? So to go into scrimmage and for Chase Young to continue building on the good days that he's having and add yet another to his repertoire, definitely love to see that. So shout out to Chase Young. He's been balling out in training camp. Another guy who has been balling out in training camp. These guys are trending up. Two of them, both DBs. Quincy Riley from Louisville and Kool-Aid Mckinstry. Let's start off with Quincy Riley. Quincy Riley, I think at this point, is competing for a starting job, and I think he's one of those rookies that preseason is going to be massive for him. How does he play against different competition, and can he step up to the plate? Great opportunity, obviously, because the Saints aren't exactly loaded with cornerbacks right now. Kool-Aid's been great. We know Alontae Taylor is a playmaker at this next level, but that's it. Like, that's about it when you go to the Saints' depth of quality at the cornerback position. And I think for Quincy Riley, the Saints, what they loved about him was his playmaking skills and just always being active with his hands at the collegiate level. It's been that way right now. He's got 2 picks at training camp. Should have had a third today. Just ended up stepping out of bounds when he came down with the football. So I think the arrow's pointing up for this kid. I think Quincy Riley has been tremendous. And I think for him, it is a golden opportunity at a position that is not exactly loaded with talent right now for the Saints to make a name for himself and maybe earn a starting job. We'll see what happens. But Quincy Riley, definitely a player that Saints fans should keep an eye on. Undeniable at this point. Kool-Aid Mckinstry, I think, is ready for that year 2 leap. There's always a player that you feel like will make that year 2 leap, and you hear about it in training camp. The buzz is palpable, and you know they're capable of doing it. And I think Kool-Aid Mckinstry is that guy. And to add yet another good day of practice today, had the interception on Spencer Rattler, has earned a ton of praise from Kellen Moore this summer. I think it's pretty clear if guys like Kool-Aid Mckinstry take that next jump, if guys like Chase Young, who I just mentioned before, continue to string together good days, they're healthy, coming off some momentum at the end of the second half of last season, this could be a great moment for this Saints defense to play well. So guys like Chase Young, guys like Kool-Aid Mckinstry, if they take that next step, and it feels like they very much can this season, then we got to recalibrate how we look at this Saints defense. Maybe they'll be a lot more respectable than maybe what we expected dating back to March, April, when we weren't sure what Staley's scheme and his personnel would look like. But Kool-Aid Mckinstry has been phenomenal so far for the Saints, and he continues to stack good days. And a guy who I'm about to mention for trending down, Isaiah Foskey, I think this is where you see and hear the difference. Isaiah Foskey went into his second season as a second-round guy, and we didn't hear shit about him. And sadly, it's now his third season, and we're still not hearing anything about him. I saw a highlight where he got blown off the ball, and they gave up a big run, the defense today, and he's just at the scene of the crime, and I'm like, it's just never going to click for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut at the end of this training camp, frankly. Kool-Aid, on the other hand, you saw some progress during his rookie season. You knew he was putting in the work during the offseason, and all you hear about right now are good things, and all you see from him are good things. You can tell he's ready for the leap. So trending up, Kool-Aid Mckinstry. So we talked about the defense, Chase Young, Quincy Riley, Kool-Aid Mckinstry. We talked about special teams. Give one shout out to an offensive player right here, Michael Jacobson. Really nice day at camp today. Had the touchdown from Tyler Shough on that second drive. The thing for Michael Jacobson that makes him a player worth monitoring, besides the fact that he is playing well and he deserves his flowers for doing such, he is at a dire position of need. We all know that Juwan Johnson is the tight end 1 for the Saints. Taysom Hill's injured. Foster Moreau's injured. Stoll is really a blocking tight end. Can Michael Jacobson have a preseason where he starts to emerge? Dallin Holker, a guy we liked last year, he retired about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. It is a prime opening for someone to burst through and make a name for themselves at the tight end spot. And I think Michael Jacobson could be that guy for the New Orleans Saints. So I would keep an eye on him and what he's done, but he's definitely been worth, shouting out so far for the offensive side of the football. And I could get to others too. I think Rashid Shaheed, another really good day today. I think Shaheed's been excellent, but I feel bad constantly saying every single fucking day that Rashid Shaheed is trending up. The dude is a capable player, a very capable player. But another shout out to him. And then Nephi Sewell. I'll wrap up the trending up with that. Nephi Sewell, back-to-back days, back-to-back or 2 out of the last 3. I got to go check my notes, where he stands out. And he is in that linebacker battle with Danny Stutzman. Both are going to make the team, in my opinion. But who is going to be that next man up? Stutzman, I thought, looked really great at the start. And now Nephi Sewell's starting to make a little bit of a name for himself. And you're starting to see him push back. And I say it for the quarterbacks. I just said it for the tight ends with Michael Jacobson. I'll say it now for Nephi Sewell. Preseason games. Preseason games are going to matter so much for positional battles like that. And, man, it is nice to see that linebacker depth is starting to step up. So shout out to them. And defensively, another win for the defense today. Some really good moments for the offense. As the scrimmage progressed, it seemed like the offense was tailing down and the defense was ramping up its intensity, which, you could look at it as a negative thing for the offense. That's fine. I'd say this quarterback room is really freaking young, and this defense is starting to gain its confidence. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially in a division that we know isn't too great right now. And look, are we expecting the Saints to contend this year? Absolutely not. But is their schedule, opening up, especially when you get to the second half of the year where you feel like, man, this defense gets some confidence, they could be fun? I think so. That's kind of where I'm trending. So we'll see what happens. But overall, guys, like I said, Shough had an okay day, some inconsistencies, some struggles, obviously with the turnover, but overall pretty good. Had a touchdown pass that was wide open that was dropped. Spencer Rattler started off pretty well, kind of tailed off towards the end. So again, quarterback, I would say the race is still at a stalemate where it's still Spencer Rattler first. But the preseason games are going to dictate so much. Defensively, though, like I said, Quincy Riley, Chase Young, Kool-Aid Mckinstry, Nephi Sewell, a lot of guys stepped up. Shout out to those players. And then Blake Grupe, absolute machine at kicker. So scrimmages in the books. I believe the Saints have off tomorrow, and then they'll come back on Tuesday. So we'll have plenty of coverage here at Boo Crew Media. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and share your thoughts in the comment section below. Which players are you excited about after hearing what's going on in training camp? Which ones are you a little disappointed about? We're hoping to hear more of so far. Let us know in the comment section. As always, stay tuned for more content here from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.